So, right. Hello, everybody. Hello. My name is Tala, and I will be your host for today. Today's event is hosted by Dialogue Institute of Austin, whose mission is to promote mutual understanding, respect, and cooperation among people of diverse faiths and cultures by creating opportunities for direct communication and meaningful shared experiences. Today's topic is the Helping Relationships, hosted by none other than Ron Cockroft, PhD, Clinical Pastoral Training, retired chaplain director. Let's everyone say welcome to Ron.
Thank you. I feel honored to be here, and I'm accustomed to doing some Zoom training, but most of the time I get to see people and get some responses. So I wish I could see your faces. Now, so my topic was, I was asked to do a presentation on the helping relationship. Well, why do you want to be a helper? So it's my assumption, I guess, that if you're watching this, there's something inside of you that you want to be someone that's a helper, whether it might be a nursing assistant, whether it might be a chaplain, whether it might be a counselor, a professional psychologist, or whatever. This hopefully, this will give you some ideas. And my thought is, number one, I believe that if I do some sharing and it doesn't challenge you to think about things, that you may have to think about changing your thoughts, your maybe some of your behaviors or whatever. If I don't challenge you, then I've failed you. So let's hope that there can be some challenge here. Why do you want to be a helper? I'm a clinical pastoral trainer. Clinical pastoral training, I tell the trainees that what we're about is, first, to be a helper, we have to learn about ourselves. We have to be aware of ourselves, because if we're not aware of ourselves, we step in a lot of things, we make a lot of mistakes, we can cause damage for another person. Second is we need to learn about other people. And so we do a little bit of study and some psychological counseling, basic theories and little theories or whatever. And then third, we learn how to be God's representative to others, to bring God's presence, God's love, God's peace to people who really are hurting, people who are lonely, people who have gone through trauma, or the next door neighbor, being God's representative. So I'm going to start with looking at the helping relationship. The helping relationship is a learning relationship. It's a relationship that strives toward helping the helpee being the person being helped, the person served, strives toward the helpee learning to find effective ways to cope with their present situation, with their personal problems, with their planning and choosing between options and values. And I'm stressing that this relationship strives for the helpee to learn. Constantly, I'm saying to my trainees that we should not be, it's best for us not to be giving advice. But our plan is to help the person find their own answers. So helping must be a mutual agreement, in the sense that if we want to help someone, but they aren't open to or do not want our help, they will not benefit from what we have to offer them. No matter what good stuff we give, if the other person doesn't want it, it's not going to help them. Helping is a responsibility. We are always there to facilitate. Oops, I screwed up on that word separation, didn't I? To facilitate the helpee growth, and wellness. It's the helpy that we're looking at attempting to benefit their growth, to work toward their wellness. We'll talk about the wellness in a little bit. One of the first principles that I try to impress, and a lot of times, frankly, I forget it myself. I want to be a helpy, and sometimes I'm more of a helper. I mean, I want to be a helper, and sometimes I'm more of the helper than people want. But really, it's the first principle is doing anything for someone else without their initiative and consent is manipulating them and can become abuse and destructive. Sometimes we want to give answers to someone and they're not asking for answers. Sometimes we want to do a physical thing for someone that they don't want, and we are then abusing them in that sense. That principle is very important, and I have to keep reminding myself, as I've said. And I want to say these are important principles we're talking about, and just because I'm talking about it doesn't mean that I have mastered everything. Please, these are principles. The principle of growth, the principle of hope, the principle of looking at ourselves is that we look at principles to grow into. Doesn't mean we've mastered. Helping is always a relationship. And in this relationship, here's a little bit about the personality of effective helpers. So, research into counseling and psychotherapy has demonstrated that for helping to really gain from the relationship, they have to experience the helper as genuine, being genuine with them, being warm and being friendly, being open to them. Effective helpers see the other person as able to solve their own problems and manage their lives. For the most part, most of the people that we want to help have the capability of working on their own problems. And sometimes they're stuck and they just need to see something from a different point of view. And as a caveat to this one, there are times when a person is in real trauma, they may not have the emotional or physical energy to make a decision for their own safety. And we then can step in. On a normal basis, we have to accept them, see them as capable. Effective helpers are perceived as being dependable and friendly and worthy of this trust relationship. As the client, the helpee, looks at the helper, they have to be able to believe that this person has enough experience or education or something that will help them. Effective helpers are aware of themselves and their own values. Aware of themselves. One of the things that we practice in our clinical pastoral training is looking at ourselves. In most training situation, each training session, there's a time for people to give honest feedback to the others. And this helps us to see ourselves as others see us. Because, when we look in the mirror, we don't really see ourselves as others see us. And then we walk away from the mirror and we still have a very different idea within our heads about who we are. When we're confronted with something, just the other night, my wife, I had a question for someone and my wife says, that's not a good question to ask at this point. It just kind of pops out at me, but her reminding me that I have to be aware of others. I appreciate my wife. She helps me that way a lot. She's a real gem. Um, um, that's like a gemstone. That's not like a JIM. Anyway, being aware of ourselves and our own values. The effective helper strives to live up to our own values. And a part of the process of our training, as I'm training others, it helps me even as I'm working with them to help them to formulate some of the values they may not have thought about before, or described for themselves before. Sometimes that even helps me to come to an insight about myself as we are involved in this relationship. So going on, the effective helper is able to analyze their own feelings. If we're not aware of our own feelings when we're in a relationship, then those feelings are going to come out directed toward the other person or against the other person one way or another. Those feelings are going to come out. So we need to be aware of our own feelings. We need to think about our feelings. We need to be able to analyze these so we're aware and we can distinguish between our feelings and the other person's. Too often, new helpers just feel with the other person so much they get sucked into the other person's trauma and get swept downstream along with them. Effective helpers should be able to serve as a model and an influencer. Now, there's somebody that said everybody serves as a model of either what good to do or what not to do. As a model, we influence those that we are helping. We set an example for the others to be able to follow when they feel lost themselves. Effective helpers have a sense of altruism, of self-giving, rather than I'm going to do this because I get something out of it. And effective helpers have a strong sense of ethics and responsibility. These are some of the characteristics, the basic characteristics of effective helpers. And so as we look at these, we might say, gee, maybe that's not me. Maybe this one isn't, this one is. All these are developable. We can develop these in our relationships and in our training. This is a very important aspect of helping. We can be effective helpers. Sometimes the helping process, the helping relationship can turn negative. And a big reason for that is it's always a power relationship. It's if we are seen as a helper to someone, it's because they come to us generally out of a need. And they're looking to someone else to assist with that need some way or another. And that puts a power differential. And that one comment is the reason why there are laws and standards and codes of ethics that, for instance, say, a professional counselor can't be a counselor for a close friend, can't be a counselor for a family member, can't be. If you're my brother or sister and you come up and say, hey, my best friend has a problem, can they come to you for counseling? As a professional counselor, that's against the standard because that's a power relationship. That's why the laws say, hey, you go to your psychologist, and the psychologist says, well, I'll help you if you come mow my lawn. That's basically against the law also. It's a power relationship because there's always a feeling of inequality. You're helping me, so I owe you something. Sometimes there's the implication of feelings that, well, you're weak and needy and I'm strong, so I'm going to help you. and that takes strength away from the helpee. And the feelings of sometimes the helper goes into this relationship saying, I want to help people because I want to be above people. I'm above you, let me help you up. The same thing with the feelings of something's broken, you're the helper and I'm the master fixer. Hey man, I will fix you. You see, these are negative things. And a big thing here, I keep pressing on my trainees, people who have been trained as a minister myself, I look at ministers of different religions. I look at psychologists, psychiatrists, and sometimes we feel like I've got all the answers. If we don't feel that way, but the helpee feels like we have all the answers, and they're just looking for answers, that can be a very negative thing. And finally, here I say, sometimes the helpee is helped, but then feels like they are indebted to the helper. When there's a professional relationship, you go to a physician, a professional psychologist, professional counselor, in that kind of a regular professional contractual relationship, they pay the helpee pays a fee, and that answers the indebtedness. But if it's a volunteer situation or something like that, sometimes the helpee feels like they are indebted, and it takes their strength away. It takes strength away from them being able to work on their own problems and their own situation. So, why do you want to be a helper? We all have needs, and we have to be aware of our needs. There's been a lot of research done on why people become chaplains, ministers, nurses, doctors, psychiatrists, psychologists. And most of the research shows that most of the time we enter that field because there's something in our lives that we want to answer. We have needs. We need to be aware of what our needs are in wanting to be a helper. Some of these needs, there may be a strong desire to leave the world a better place, and maybe that's really good, okay? But maybe we want to leave our mark on the world, and so our lives will be worthwhile as if our lives aren't worthwhile otherwise. But we want to use people as that tool. I'm going to save the world. And I'm the only one that can answer your problem. And when I do that, then I'll become rich and famous. Somehow I missed that part. That just didn't come. Some people want to be helping to be an outcome of spiritual commitment. Now, maybe this is a really good motivation. My commitment, my personal commitment to God leads me to want to be a benefit to God's creation, to people and to the world, to the animals. See, all of this, that's the outcome of my spiritual commitment. And that's a good motivation, I think. It's a way of expressing love and commitment. Now, then again, maybe a lot of people use it as a tool to try to proselytize, to recruit from their own religion. And then another need is the strong urge to be of service to others because it makes us feel more human. This can become excessive too. It can become possessive and controlling and protective. And these are some of the needs that we have to be aware of. Maybe I have a compulsive need for love and attention. And I say me, I believe in using myself as an example rather than continually saying you, because all of us are in this. Any one of us can have a need for this love and attention. I think all of us do. But when we use that as the motivation to reach out and help someone else, it can be very self-centered. And then the problem is, am I focused so much on my needs, on the needs of others, that I neglect my own needs? And that leads to burnout. Also, we can receive satisfaction in seeing others to grow and change, to improve their lives. Maybe our need is to be an expert. Helping conveys a sense of power. There's a presumption of extra knowledge, special knowledge. There's a need to influence others, a need to give advice, a need to have the answers, to be admired for expertise, a need for power and control and prestige and praise. The important point of this is each of us need to be aware of why we want to reach out to be a helper to someone else. You see, there's some really good motivations, and there's some of them that can cause some real problems. So why do you want to be a helper? So this is a question. Am I helping others so that I can feel better about myself? That's a danger. Using helping others as a means for solving my own problems is a danger. It means that we are not genuinely concerned for them. We are using and manipulating them. At the same time, yes, we can see our own problems in the lives of others. Working with others can help us come to insights about ourselves when we've had an experience and that's somewhat like they're going through. We can have an empathy for them, with them. And I remind my trainees that much of the time when there's someone out there that we are trying to visit with, that we're trying to talk with, give the opportunity to talk with us, and they're going through something, much of the time it's something that we ourselves may have experienced or are experiencing at the same time. And that's called a parallel process. And so we tend to use them to solve our problem. That's a dangerous situation. At the same time, if in working with them, it helps us come to an insight for ourselves that we can go to someone else to process, then that's a good result from that. It is important that we solve our own problems hopefully before trying to help others. If we are struggling with the same problem that someone else is, then the best thing for us to do is to send them to another helper. Because if I'm using someone else to solve my problem, I'm abusing them, using and abusing. So the point of this is, it's really important for us to be aware of our reasons for wanting to help. Can you serve someone even if they never acknowledge it or give you thanks, etc.? You see, genuine helping, the effective, genuine helper would say, yes, I'm willing to help, even if they don't ever respond to that. Scott Peck, I believe he wrote in his book, The Road Less Traveled. It's been a long time since I've read it, a long time. But what I've gotten out of his book, and I've totally accepted for my own, is his definition of love. And I may not say it exactly the way that, but what I understand he was conveying, and this is what I see is love. To give the best that you can for someone else's mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual growth and development, even if they never respond. That's how I see God's love. So what do we get out of helping? Why do you want to be a helper? What do we get out of it? Being aware of our reasons for wanting to help. One of the good things we get out is as we help others, we change, we grow. Our sense of confidence, self-esteem, self-image increases. Our positive self-regard grows as we help others. Two, research shows that helpers in helping others really have improved health, and well-being for themselves. It's in the process of giving. So number three, helping takes us out of our own little world into the broader world so that we're not quite so concerned about our problems. That's one of the reasons that things like the 12-step programs, when they're trying to help someone with addictions or persons who are depressed, some of the prescription is do something good for someone else. You see, when you're doing something good for someone else, you're paying attention to them instead of yourself. What do we get out of it? Well, sometimes we get paid for it, paid fees for it. See, to me, the most important thing is, is my garden hose theology. If I can have the freedom, well, since I'm talking, I'm going to have to take the freedom. My practical living theology is what I call garden hose theology. It's kind of like, we've all used a garden hose. We screw the hose into the spigot, we turn the spigot on, we water the grass, turn the spigot off, and the grass is wet. But so is the inside of the garden hose. Anytime any of us reach up and get God's goodness, God's presence, God's love, God's peace, God's joy, anything that God has given to us, and we give it to someone else, it expands us. It stays with us. It changes us. That's my garden hose theology. And that's one of the benefits that we get out of being a helper. Being a helper, our responsibility is to help meet, is to assist the helpee in meeting needs. Abraham Maslow defined 5 levels of needs, and then Frankl, I'm blocking on his first name right now. Frankl added a 6th need. It's called Abraham's Maslow's hierarchy, and many of you are familiar with this, maybe not, but Maslow defined five needs that we all have. He was a sociologist, and anyway, he said the first 4 are basic deficiency needs. We have to fill up this hole, this lack. The first one is the basic need for physiological safety. Physiological need, food, water, and shelter. You see, if we're lost in the woods, the first thing we have to do is think about where are we going to shelter if a storm is coming? Where do I find food and where do I find water? Then the next level, after we find those things, the next level is safety, and basically physical safety. But then the emotional safety that we need, and the social safety with ourselves and with others. That's the second level. He said the third level, after those are satisfied, the next level, we have the freedom to move to the next level, love and belonging. That's when we can focus on family and friends, etc., and building those emotional relationships. When we have those 3, then we can move into exploring, how do I feel about myself? What can I do for myself? You see, it said these are basic deficiency needs because we all have to have those. Those are holes we have to fill up in our lives. And then his 5th level self-actualization. And he called this one of the being needs, to go beyond just existing to something higher. Self-actualization, to be involved in creativity and a sense of growing and assisting and having a part in things. And then Viktor Frankl, yes, Viktor's his first name, Viktor Frankl added on another level that he called meaning. What is it that makes life worth living? And why should I continue existing and growing toward that? Now, so these are helping the helpee meet these needs and find their answers and how to meet these needs. Once again, I will say, I don't have your answers, but maybe in a relationship, I can help you look at something from just a little bit different point of view so that you find your own answer. That's what we strive toward. And so moving from there into the responsibilities of the helping relationship. I hope I'm not going too fast. I guess it's a possibility I may be. If I am, I apologize. I guess that's a part of my feeling a little bit nervous here doing this. As much as I've been in front of people doing this, I'm still feeling nervous, so it's coming out fast. So anyway, responsibilities of the helping relationship. The main one is we are helping another person to grow in the direction that they choose, that they want and they choose, to make the decisions that they want to make, and to choose and see how they choose to face their crises. You see, assisting their awareness of alternatives and options, as well as allowing them to judge their readiness to act on their own alternatives. We can point out options. We can help them to look at different situations so they see different options. But we'll go on. Persons need to define on their own basis what their needs are, rather than us telling them what their needs are. We may see things that they need according to our thoughts, but they may not see the same needs. There have been many times somebody says, hey, you need to do this. And my thought is, I don't have a need to do this. Maybe you have a need for me to do it, you see. And so that helps me to attempt to keep from putting my needs upon other people. Some other responsibilities. When we force on others our solutions, we're making them victims of our need for not dominance or our need to feel needed. When we force on others our solutions, and that's why I keep reiterating, I don't have somebody else's answers. I'm going to do my best to help them find their own answers, because my answer is not going to work for them. I have some friends, out west that have said, here in my little town, the economy is falling apart, and I need an answer for this. And I say, hey, just move to Austin. That's my answer for you. But that's not their answer. Their answer is they want to find a place there. They want to find meaning there where they are. Okay, the helper must not do anything for other people that is without their consent, that they have not initiated and given consent for. One of my teachers says that we should never do something for another person that they can do for themselves. I think I said this at the beginning, and I'm reiterating it, because we all need to be reminded. I know I need to be reminded because I just want to be out there and be doing things for people. Persons being served can feel a loss of self-esteem, feelings that they're incompetent, feelings of dependency, helplessness, and inadequacy. You know, at Austin State Hospital, I had a supervisor, a really, really bright woman, and I consider her the best job supervisor I ever had. And she had a disability. And there are times when we were going to be going someplace, and I said, "Oh, can I do this for you?" No. If you do it for me, then you steal from me my opportunity to exercise and gain something that I need to do. When we do something else, do something for someone else that they can do for themselves, we are stealing from them their opportunity for their growth. Okay, our responsibilities. When we do for others, when we give answers to others, when we do, etc., then they may begin feeling that they don't have to be responsible for themselves. I'm wondering if any of you ever have experienced someone like that. Remember, when we're making decisions for the other person, we are to blame when anything goes wrong. A therapist that gives advice often hears the client say, "I tried what you said and it didn't work and it's all your fault." Yes, I've had that experience. I've in talking with friends or someone's situation or whatever, there have been times when I suggested a pathway and someone just came right back at me. And when we do this in a helping relationship, sometimes the person can feel so hurt or used by it that they break off the relationship. The helper objective is to assist in building the other person's esteem and self-image, to build their competence to direct their lives. In doing so, helpers must listen, listen, listen. I keep impressing on my trainees, there are different levels of listening. I'm remembering back to the scriptures of my religion, Christianity, and the teacher, Jesus, saying, "He that has ears to hear, let him hear." Well, sometimes we hear words. Oh, okay, and they're just words. So when we think words are it. But when someone says words, there's always a message underneath, because only 5 to 7% of communication is communicated by the words themselves. The rest of it is the tone, the rest of it is body language, facial language, the situation, you see. So there's words, and there's the feeling underneath. Then there's the meaning underneath that. And then the what now? So what? How does this affect my life underneath that? So in these communications, what we need to do is listen for the words, but also be aware of, listen to what the heart is crying out. To me, that's the essence of the helping relationship, listening to the heart cry. Listen to the words, listen to the feelings, listen to what the feelings are saying, listen to the heart cry. And then we can help someone see a different point of view so that they can see their own answer. Okay.
Ron, we did get a question in the chat.
Yes.
So the question is, can we say mindfulness can we say mindfulness be in that moment, like being mindfulness in that moment?
Being mindfulness in the moment of listening, I think absolutely. Mindfulness is a very important part of a behavioral technique. If we're not mindful of ourselves and the other, then we miss it. Yes. Our group was looking at cognitive behavioral therapy this past week, and a big part of cognitive behavioral therapy is there are different versions of it, and mindfulness is definitely a very important one. As we become more mindful of ourselves, more aware of ourselves, but as we're willing to be more mindful of the other person, we can be more effective as a helper. Thank you. Are there more questions that I should address?
That was the one for now. Thank
Okay.
you, Ron.
All right. So we are here to facilitate the other person's wellness tasks and to support their journey. This is once again reaffirming that a basic characteristic of the personality characteristic of the helper is that sense of altruism, that sense of self-giving to support their journey over and above ours. At this point, you see, they come to us for assistance and support in their journey. And that's why I'm saying that we have to focus on what their needs are, the way they want to choose to address them, the way they want to make their path, and we assist them along that. There are wellness tasks that we can assist with. Here are the basic 5 wellness tasks, and I see a lot of this material I have learned from a professor, Brammer, and his book, the Helping Relationship. There's, I think, 5 different editions of it. It's one of them that I studied while I was in counseling. But these, I found these in the ensuing years to be very true. Spirituality, our values, morals, ethics, assisting the helpee to look at and define for themselves. Self-regulations, our sense of self-worth and control. See, many of the difficulties we run into are incidences of lack of self-control. But there's our own self-control, our beliefs, creativity. Our task of work, providing for the economic, psychological, and social needs that are in that hierarchy that we talked about. The task of friendship, developing these relationships. And as we develop a trust relationship with the helpee, this gives them a foundation from which to reach out to develop other friendships, or to help clarify other friendships, other relationships. And then the task of love, finding this intimacy with others, and trusting in these long-term relationships. It's amazing these days how many people just have such a need and desire for a long-term, a deep, satisfying intimacy, deep, satisfying sharing. And intimacy is shared spaces. And yet they're so afraid to be a part of it. These are some of the wellness tasks that we can assist with. So some principles, I have here a list of 10 principles for the pastoral caregiver that one of my trainers, one of my supervisors had had taught us about. And I have really appreciated these principles, and I think they're very important, so I'm sharing them here. There are 3 slides of this. One is the effective pastoral caregiver is a person who has, for him or herself, experienced or received care. We have recognized the problem for ourselves, and we've reached out to someone else to help us, whether it be a professional psychologist, psychiatrist, counselor, whether it be a minister, sometimes our next door neighbor, if it's trusted enough, you see. Then the next one is the first rule of pastoral care is always begin with the person where they are at the time that we are doing ministry with them. Sometimes we start working with a person and we say, this person really ought to. Well, you see, we're not accepting them where they are right now. And in every relationship, it starts with where they are, where you are and where they are. And we have to begin there with the hope of transforming both of us. The pastoral caregiver always seeks to avoid creating a long-term dependency in the other person. Now, as a professional pastoral caregiver, we can have these professional relationships, but that are helpful for a while. I know there are some, I really hate to say this, but it's true. There are some professional psychologists, psychiatrists, etc., that have patients existing that they continue with for 10 or 15 years. And part of it is, hey, you know, if I see you every week for 15 years, that means I have some long-term secure income. Well, that's not helping the person to be responsible for themselves. That's what this is talking about. The pastoral caregiver seeks to avoid creating, a paradox in ministry and pastoral care is that I do get some of my needs met through caring others, and we talked about that. But I don't care for others in order to get my needs met. You see, the pastoral caregiver, the principle is that we don't help someone else in order for them to help us back. We help someone else because they need help. Yes, if we have some need for help, then we can find it elsewhere. Another set of principles, self-knowledge and self-discipline are essential for being effective pastoral. It should be caregiver. My typing is not really good, okay? But maybe we can be a pastoral flare giver. I don't know. It's, but like I said, self-knowledge and self-discipline are essential. The pastoral caregiver always assumes a basic stance of optimism regarding the abilities of others to cope with their situation and to grow from their experiences. We have to look at the person as capable of handling their own situation with the assistance that we can give them. In other words, we are not the ones to solve their problem. The pastoral caregiver does not have the right to impose his or her answers upon the other person. I've said this several different ways in this presentation, and that's a very important principle. The 8th principle is the pastoral caregiver strives for harmony between what he or she feels should be done and what he or she wants to do. And sometimes, there's, I feel like something should be done, but I really want to do this. And when there's that, then I really have to work out some kind of harmony between this. And a lot of times what I want to do should not be done. I mean, it has to be given over to what what is right to be done, to do the right thing at the right time, rather than what I want to do. Finally, an important principle is that failure is always a part of pastoral caregiving. No matter how much I want to help someone, no matter how much time and energy I put in or invest with this person, there's some that are not going to accept it, some that are going to go the other way anyway, some that are going to destroy themselves, some that are going to die, no matter how much I want to change that. There's failure is always a part of it. And thus, number 10, ultimately, I have to depend upon God and not upon myself. I impress upon my trainees that I'm a caregiver. God is a cure giver. If there's any cure, that comes from God. But as a representative of God, I can give the care with the person, being there with the person. So why do you want to be a helper or a caregiver? I think that's the end of me, at least the end of my presentation. I'm sorry. Hopefully not the end of me yet. But so here I'm willing to.
We can open the floor for any questions that we may have. And thank you, Ron, again. This was a great, very educational seminar.
Question for you, Tala. Is there a way that I can upload this somewhere so people can download it if they wish?
Yes, I'm sure we can do that. Yeah, afterwards, we'll figure out a way to do that.
Okay. Do you want me to stop screen sharing now or leave this up? Maybe I'll leave this up so people can ask questions about it.
Yeah, I think it's okay.
Okay.
It's up.
Remember, folks, I'm a very questionable personality character, so you can ask whatever questions.
Yeah, people in the chat are saying thank you so much, Dr. Ron. And I just want to remind our viewers to subscribe to our YouTube channel, where we'll do more of these kind of events in the future. And more people are saying thank you.
It is my honor to be here.
Yeah, and I think, yeah, there doesn't seem to be any questions. So then we can wrap it up. Thank you so much for everyone for coming in the chat. And thank you again to Dr. Ron for giving us his time.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah.
I pray God's blessings on all of you.
Yeah, God bless us all. Thank you. And everyone have